You wonder what happened in sports today. Brandon Petrilli, he got the wave. We talking a lot with bros today. Cracking some jokes the podcast way. Goals on goals, with homers on homers. Tutties on tutties, got moments on moments. Just tune into BSP. Just tune into BSP. Just tune into BSP. Just tune into Petrilli.
And welcome back to another episode of the BSP Podcast. Got a little bit of a different one here today. We have a guest appearance. It's been quite a while since we've last seen this man or heard from this man. And this man is Harry Heaps, the longtime legend, my predecessor at WQSU for the sports department. I went back into the archives. Harry, guess what year you were last on the BSP Podcast?
Yes, and I'm excited to be back. I think it's going to be a great show. I've been laying in the dark working on some things. I'm trying to get my podcast back up, but I'm glad to be back on the BSP Podcast. I'm looking forward to the show.
Yeah, no, dude, super excited. It was February 2nd, 2020 was the last time we had you on here. Glad to have you back. I mean, Harry and I have always had a great time bouncing each other back on live on the radio at 88.9 WQSU The Pulse. Shout out everybody. Shout out Don, the legend. But it's been a good time. We've always had fun with it when the two of us are going talking sports, and hopefully everybody enjoys a little bit of a different one here. Let's get into it here, Harry. I mean, baseball front and center right now. NBA playoffs is over. We'll get into the hockey. We'll wrap up the NBA playoffs in a little bit here. But, you know, we're big baseball guys here. You got the O's hat rocking right now. I'm always Phillies up. Phillies are back, baby. I mean, they are 16 for the month, 16-3. I mean, they're eight back of the Mets right now. I said at the beginning of the month, if you can get back 6-7 games by the end of June here, you're within striking distance, and we can make a play for it. The Phillies are perfectly set up for that moving forward here. Just wanted to get a little bit of your take of what you think that whole NL East and what you, from an outsider's perspective, of what this Phillies team kind of looks like, because they are the heart attack kids. But what do you think?
Well, I think, obviously there's nobody that's a more passionate Phillies fan than the guy that I'm speaking to right now. But as an outsider, what I'll say is obviously, the Phillies have made the right choice in the changes they've made in the front office, and not only in the front office, but at the coaching position, in putting them now in a way that they're above 500, right? And they're a team that, since you and I have been friends, they have been a team that, since my senior year in high school in 2018 and throughout college, should be a postseason contender. And every year that they, especially since they got Bryce Harper, they've been falling short. And I think that they've got this grit now behind them this season that's going to fuel them, I think, to possibly take number one if they can keep this streak up in their division. I mean, listen, they're at 36 wins right now. The Braves are at 38, and obviously the Mets got that big 45 number. They're number 2 overall in the league. But the Mets are brutal with injuries right now. If the Phillies can keep this fire under their tail, I think that they're on the way to definitely make a long postseason run. And there's, again, something that you and I have gone back and forth about is a fan base like Philadelphia is going to get behind that team all day long and push them all day long to hopefully have a fighting chance of doing better than they've done the past few years. I don't know if they're a World Series team, but I think they're a deep playoff team. That's my takeaway from the Phillies right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100% agree with that. You got to come up for a game. I mean, the atmosphere around this team, baseball makes the summer. You go to the ballpark, you get the hot dogs, peanuts, cold beer. You get the crowd excited, packed house. Go check out my vlog on the BSP Podcast YouTube page when Sierra and I went to the game. It's just the atmosphere. It's the place to be in the city of Philadelphia right now. And it hasn't been that way, like we were saying, in a long, long time. I think they're still going to be floating around that 500 mark like they've been. But now, because of that extra playoff spot that the MLB has added, it gives you hope now in September to make that push, that you don't have to win the division. You don't even have to be the second best wild card. You could be the third and give yourself a chance to get in. And you don't want to face this team with these bats, with Bryce Harper, with Zach Wheeler pitching in a one-on-one, a dinger, and that's all it takes. And the Phillies are going to win a baseball game.
the way that Philly has been hitting now is, I mean, it's it looks like that you're watching, we were just talking about this before we got obviously live here, but it reminds me of the Yankees, man. When they get hot, they hit, they get on base. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed are more gutsy plays, obviously in the past few games. Philly's not like known currently right now for being a big steal based team, but they're putting themselves in positions to do so recently, which I think is super cool.
No,
And I
big
think that
time.
they're playing, a lot of really gutsy baseball. And again, it's going to project them to get to a place where you're obviously hoping it's one of their diehard fans, to beat long postseason. I will bring up a side note. Somebody, a legend in the podcast world that you and I watch and laugh at all the time, Joey Diaz, was actually just at a Phillies game a few
Was
days
he?
ago.
Was he?
Yeah. My one of my friends back at Susquehanna, one of his best friends from back home in Bethlehem was at that game, and Joey was sitting like 3 rows in front of him on a hot day in Philly, but he recognized him, and it's crazy. But yeah, dude, like the Phillies are bringing anybody, Jersey wide, New York wide, the Philly area. People are going to see them. I personally wish I was a Philly fan now, but hey, I like where the O's are at. But yeah, man, baseball it's the same way for you and I think. There's nothing better than watching a baseball game during the summer. I totally agree with that, especially when you're in stadium. You got good seats. It's just the air of baseball that you feel when you're around a fan base that loves the game is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, what I 100% agree with what you were saying along the lines of the Phillies are getting gritty with it. You have guys like Matt Vierling hitting home runs, stealing bases, getting on board. You have Garrett Stubbs, backup catcher. Young guys in Bryson Stott and Mickey Moniak finally going and making the plays. It's not your guys that are getting 100 mil, and that's what's
Right.
going to lead towards the end of the season. I mean, it's 162 games. Bryce Harper's not going to bat, 300. 1 out of 3 times is good. Is a Hall of Famer now. I mean, you're going to have some bad games, and you need these young guys to step up. That's what you've been having. Now, let's get into it a little bit different here. I'm normally a big Philly podcast here. Try to keep it short within that 10 minutes, Trillion 10. Going to get some tit shirts coming out soon. Keep an eye out for that. But
nice.
Now that we got Harry on here, go a little bit longer, dive a little bit more into some other teams, some other cities. Let's get into the top of both divisions here. And that's the 2 New York teams. You got the poverty, blue collar, scum of the earth, Mets fans like Kieran Kenny. Shout out Mr. Kenny. He's a saint, but Kieran, his son, scum, and the rest of them. And then you got the New York Yankees, the Bronx Bombers, the class of the AL, the class of New York. I mean, they're 2 very different vibes. When I went to that Yankees game, they expect it. Now, this team is just hitting bombs left and right. They're scoring 10 runs, but the atmosphere at the game, talking with Yankees fans, it's like, yeah, we've been there. We've been doing that for the past 5 years, but we just haven't been able to get over the hump in the playoffs. I mean, What do you think? Is this Yankees team different in that regards now?
So I'll definitely attack the Yankees question first, and then we'll lead back into the Mets.
We'll get into
that.
I got
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, no, what I think, it's a perfect way that you put it, Trilly. The Yankees, that fan base, it's like the Patriots fan base when they had Tom Brady. They expect championships. They expect greatness. They expect you to be a great regular season
27.
team. They expect you to be a regular season team that gets to the postseason. And yet again, like the Phillies, except obviously the Yankees, more than any other team, really have unlimited money. They're a team that just these past 5 years has not performed at the level. Wow, popping it, no big deal. I'll mention my shirt in a minute.
Look at that sunburn.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal, man. I got to be honest. Real quick, just a shout out to my shirt, John Cena, never give up. John Cena, never give up, the legend. It's Monday night. We're recording this Monday Night Raw. I got my jean shorts on. So John Cena, you can't see me, never give up. But back to the task at hand when we're talking about the Yankees. They're 49 right now and 17. A phenomenal record, but no, I don't think that they're a team that's going to get far in maybe not in the playoffs per se. I want to say they're definitely a playoff team, but they're not a series team. I will tell you my dark horse coming out of the American League. They're not a dark horse. They're sitting at number 2 in the American League. I think that Houston again is putting it together, man. I think that they're going to be the team that overcomes the Yankees. I think that sooner or later they're going to move into that first spot in the American League. And listen, on the cusp of all those people is the team that I hate the most out of any team in the league, even more than the Yankees, are those Toronto Blue Jays. And when it gets down to in-division play, the Jays are going to give the Yankees, as we get further and further into the season, a lot of issues that I don't think the Yankees are experiencing right now. I think they're going to fall short. I don't think that their fan base is going to be surprised. I don't think that this team is better than teams past. I think that they're coming up to a time, especially with what the Mets are doing to wrap this up. They're going to continue to spend so much money. And it's not, and I get that they have unlimited money, but at some point that money's got to equal what you're getting for it, what you're putting out for it. Yankees haven't been able to do it yet. Listen, I'll throw out one quick thing to you. Is Judge going to be a Yankee next year, or is he going to play with the Mets?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I took a bus from Allentown up to New York the other weekend. That's the topic. Everybody's just so down on it. They're like, it would have been done by now, right? With the way the Yankees give money, and like, why wouldn't you give it to this guy at this point? I mean, that guy's earned his pinstripes. The guy has gotten you there time and time. He hasn't delivered the big one yet, but I mean, this is his year. This is when he's going to make the money off of it. What if he wins it and then he goes elsewhere? I mean, he's the young guy. He's the staple of this organization at this point. I mean, right? I mean, he's probably the face of it. I mean, Garrett Cole, but he's been so up and down at this point. He was the homegrown. He was that next Derek Jeter.
Thank you.
And I mean, you can't let that guy walk away, but it might not even be their choice at this point. He just might say, I want to go play elsewhere.
I want to go play out. And I think that, I will be honest, to your point about how you haven't locked him up yet, I think that that's helped make his decision. Like, dude, why have you not offered me major money? And because of that, if you don't see my worth, I know that the team in the other part of the city is going to.
Yeah.
If not anybody else. I mean, I'm not saying that he would be able to get the same type of contract that he would be able to get from like the Mets or LA, that he could get, that he would be able to get at maybe another team like the Jays or Boston or something like that. But there's teams that are going to offer this guy, $300 million for sure.
Yeah. No more. I mean,
or more.
If he hits 65 plus home runs this season that he's on pace for right now, I mean, he's going to get Bryce Harper money, Manny Machado,
It was the craziest contract, dude. Yeah. I mean, that the Padres gave him that type of money is just wild.
Well, it was funny because Harper and him, they were the two guys that offseason. I was a big Machado guy. Harper was that, young.
I remember us talking about that. Yes.
He was the young guy. Phillies played him a lot with the Nationals. You're kind of just like, he can be a little cocky, but that guy, he gets it. He absolutely gets it. And man, his contract's absolutely worth it for this Philadelphia team. He is the franchise. I mean, 100%. You talk Philadelphia Phillies, it's Bryce Harper.
Harper.
Everything he says, everything that he does, it is for the franchise, and they are doing whatever it can take. They're trying to, at this point, to make him happy. And that's what the Yankees have failed to do around Aaron Judge. You've brought in all these guys around him, these big sluggers, but you haven't got guys that just get on base. He has turned into the leadoff hitter for this team,
which is so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing he can call it is stupid. I mean, he's supposed to be the guy that closes you, not starts you.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to get your opinion on this: who's the guy, tatted arms? No, he didn't have tatted arms. Just the dog. He just wore the dog mask. Who's the guy who wore the dog mask for the Eagles?
Lane Johnson and Chris Long.
Yes, Chris Long.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper is the Chris Long of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so for sure. No, yeah. It's just it's that type of team thing. Let me really quickly before we touch on the Mets, I got to ask you a quick question.
Where do you see right now with where the Phillies are? What, obviously, best case scenario is go to a World Series win. That's not what I'm asking. What do you genuinely see is going to be the Phillies' outcome here end of the season, if you had to guess?
compete for the division in September, get in that wild card spot, win the first wild card game. If you lose 3-2 in that first playoff series, that's a win. I mean, just get there, compete, prove that you can do it, because you have these guys that, haven't really played in the playoffs.
Right.
Aaron Nola, Rhys Hoskins, these guys on the Phillies that have been coming up, they've never had the playoff experience. Even Bryce Harper has never, I think one time with the Nationals.
Yes, one time.
He left,
and then they went on and won a series. But yeah.
So like, you got guys on this team that haven't been there, and that's what I was so annoyed about the past couple of years, where the Phillies were kind of floating around that 500, the close to that wild card spot was, and people are like, oh, just tank at this point, trade your guys. Like, no, you need that experience to get into that next level, that confidence, that to be able to win. You have to lose first. It's kind of where you see in basketball we'll get to it in a little bit about the Celtics. You have to get there. You have to take your lumps before you go and you finally win a couple. And
man, they are good.
And that's where the Phillies got to get to at this point. You have to compete. Yeah. You got to give me hope, because you can't go out and fade out at another 500 team after you spend all this money.
Yeah. Heads
are going to roll, and that's where you're kind of at with this point now with the Mets, where they've gone out, they've spent that money. They've been dealing with they've been dealing with some injuries with the pitching staff and DeGrom and Scherzer, but they've been chugging along. As much as I hate it, they've been holding afloat. Like I said, this is a big month for them, because they were playing a lot of good baseball teams. They've been floating around that 500 mark, kind of where I thought, and they've given the teams like the Braves and the Phillies chances to finally catch up. But it could have been a lot worse for them. Now you're going up against Houston Astros for 2 series to end this. To end the month here. This is going to be the big stretch where if they go and they just go 3 for 3 in the 2 series with Houston, that's a win for the Mets at this point. And then you get your guys back with, I think Scherzer comes back this Sunday.
Yes.
Who knows when DeGrom's coming back? He's always been that guy where what I've been saying was, oh yeah, he'll be set. And then all of a sudden it's another setback. And then all of a sudden it's the end of the year. You're like, where is Jacob DeGrom at? So I mean, with this Mets team, they have those gritty guys in McNeil and Fat Pete, where it's not the flashy names. They're not getting hundreds of millions of dollars to their name, but they're getting the job done. Starling Marte, a great pickup. I mean, Francisco Lindor, the guy's a bum. You don't hear about him, but he's a key part to them winning. He's not, his name isn't living up to the money that he's getting, but he doesn't have to, because you have these young guys around them that they've brought up, and they have a nice culture there where they don't need each guy to go out and hit 50 bombs a night. So, I mean, what do you think where the Mets are at this point, as you're finally starting to get those horses back?
The way that I would sum it up, because you laid the groundwork for what I'm about to say, is when you are a player in the MLB, whether it is your first year, your third year, or your 10th season, when you know that your owner is behind you, you are happy to play for your team. And that is something, directly, I'm not gonna change teams here, but that's something with the hat that I wear, that's not a Baltimore thing. When you don't have
coming at the
an owner. It's true. When you don't have an owner that's willing to dedicate to your team and spend that money, it's like, well, if they're not going to bring in notable names and they're not going to bring in guys that can compete with the rest of these dudes, because I might not be able to do it, then what are we doing here? Because all I know is that if we're really not going to be competing for a championship, I'm just going to go play 60% ball and still get my guaranteed money. The Mets are in a different space where they are looking to become, I mean, listen, the Yankees are the Yankees are like the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're a team, the Green Bay Packers, that will always be known from where they're from and always be given their flowers, no matter how bad they are. But the Mets are looking to become New York's team. They're looking to become the winning culture in New York. There is no other winning culture right now in that whole city, in all of sports. Not in football, not in basketball. Brooklyn keeps falling short. The Knicks haven't done anything in years. Neither football team has it together. The Mets are like, listen, we have the ability with this owner to pay guys to get to a position where Maybe we're not going to get the World Series this year or next year, but you're damn well sure we're going to be a long playoff team. And I will go out on a limb and say, in my opinion, in the next 7 years of the MLB, I believe that there's going to be a minimum of 2 to 3 World Series won in the next 7 years by the Mets. I just truly do. I think to go, I really do. I think to go back, I don't think that LA can keep being a contender for as long as they've been and as consistent as they've been. Sooner or later, guys are going to ask for even more money, or they're not going to be able to bring in guys the way that they have in the past. I don't think that the Padres are ever going to be truly a team that can get it together, because I think that they're going to bring in more guys like Machado, who, yes, Machado was Oriole forever, right? But at the end of the day, he's not an Aaron Judge, right? He's a different player in his own right, but he's not a Judge. What I do think is that the Mets have the ability, with the ownership that's behind them and the winning culture that's behind them. They want to be New York's team. They want to be the winning culture in that city. I think that they're going to be better than the Yankees, at least for the next 2 to 3 years, for sure.
I don't disagree with you, the fact that that's where they want to be, and they have the opportunities to get there. I just think this team isn't sustainable over a 5-year period. I mean, Scherzer, how
Very
many
true.
more years is he going to give you? You know, they gave him this big deal, but I mean, he's already
Huge.
36. Yeah. How many more innings does this guy got? I mean, the guy's an absolute animal, but he's already having injury problems in his first season. DeGrom has always had injury history. When these guys are healthy, they will have a shot, but I'm just a little concerned that they're getting older now. Yeah. I don't know, dude. I mean,
it looks like that Laker team, when they first got Russell, they got AD, they got Carmelo.
Nah, I wouldn't go that far. Like, that team's an absolute abomination, and we'll get to them in a second. But
okay.
We're running out of time here real quick, but we will be right back on the BSP podcast. We're going to close this one out. We're going to come back and we're going to regroup, and we're going to dive into a little bit of some NBA talk. All right.
I'm ready.
All right. We're back. Take a quick little break there. We were getting a little heated talking about the Mets, the Titans, the Yanks. Yeah, that's what baseball does. As the weather gets warmer, so does my blood. You got to cool it off with a nice little cold beverage here. We got Harry Heaps on the BSP podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, my Instagram and Twitter at Brendan Petrilli at BSP Podcast. Go give everything a follow, subscribe. Go check out some of my recent stuff on TikTok. I'm trying to have some fun with it, produce as much content as possible. Let me know what you think. Try to get some collaborations with some other people going. I think this was a real good quick chat with Harry, my boy here. Now let's get into a little bit of the NBA talk and take a quick
ready. You got to get koozies made with your logo. That right there would be an all-time seller, but I digress. Let's get into the NBA.
Sierra got me a mouse pad for my birthday. It's pretty sick.
You can't see it. You can't see it. Okay, that's awesome, actually.
Yeah, so maybe we'll go with the koozies. I tried doing the shirt, but copyright shit, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Warriors are champions again. I mean, it's officially a dynasty. Steph Curry is one of the best players on the planet. Into that top 10 conversation now at this point. I mean, this team is now entered into that conversation with the 90s Bulls and Michael Jordan. I mean, what do you kind of think about the development of this Warriors team? You were the worst team to go from worst to first now. We'll get into the Celtics in a second, but finally getting over that hump. And what does this mean for Steph Curry, Draymond, and Clay? And what does this mean for the NBA in general?
Well, like I said off camera, you're going to throw softballs up here and to our further conversation. I'm going to hit them out of the park here. I mean, I called, Trilly, I called you. You've always been my favorite person to call about the NBA, because we have such good conversations specifically about this sport. The only other person I like to call about it is Ben, but because Ben doesn't offer any opinion, he just lets me rail on. So I told you, that when the Warriors got healthy, as soon as this season, I remember having the conversation with you. I said, Trilly, this will be either the team that makes it to the Western Conference or comes out of the Western Conference and goes to the chip this year. Just knew it, because they were going to be at full health. And even with Clay's injuries throughout the season, they still come back and they get to where they're at. What it says, and I'm so glad, I thought that the coverage of this was so well documented, by the ABC team and the ESPN team and the whole TNT team and everyone related to the NBA. So much of this, it can't go without said. The glue of all of this, it's not Curry, and it's not Clay, and it's not Draymond. It's Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is one of the biggest sports legends now, I think, of all time.
Yeah.
We're talking 5 rings with the Bulls and 4 as a coach. And this is going to be probably the guy who's going to take Coach K's place as the USA basketball men's head coach, most likely. He has been such an amazing developer of understanding where his hands need to be on and specifically, where his hands need to be off. What I think it means for the NBA is if Curry gets another ring, if he gets 5, and possibly if he gets 6, the next question is going to be, it's not, is Curry better than LeBron? It's going to be, is Curry better than Magic? And I think that is going to be a real conversation that's going to occur soon. And I'm a big Magic guy. He's one of my favorite players of all time. But this Warriors dynasty is something where this team was so relatable to that first championship team that played against the Cavs when Kyrie broke his, I believe, didn't he break his leg? And that's why Dellavedova was starting. Yes.
Yeah, he
broke it. It was
hurt.
something with his knee. But he got hurt in one of his legs. And the point being is that, that team went on to win in 6, just like this team went on to win in 6 without Durant and proving how good these guys are. What I will say is it shows that there still is a lot of diversity in the NBA of who can make it to the chip, given how good Boston is with their youth, that they made it all the way to the chip. And they had a real viable chance of winning. I mean, dude, they shook the world. Boston shook the world when they won game 1. That was crazy. But at the end of the day, man, this Warriors team is so special. There is no team in the past. I don't care about hand checking. There's no team, in my opinion, that on a 5-on-5 can compete with these guys. The way that they can shoot, the way that their passing abilities are, they're just incredible. I think it's great for the NBA. I think it says to LeBron that he's got to leave soon. I think it says to Durant that he's got to rethink things. And I think it also, and I'll tell you, I think the last thing that I'll throw it out to other big superstars is it's going to tell it. This shows Booker, my team, the Suns, they have got to add something if they want to get to that championship level. And at the end of the day, I understand that the year before Giannis was able to beat the Suns. You're not beating that Warriors team, dude. I'm sorry that your length will not beat that team. And defense is what wins championships, but not against a team like that. So I'm going to digress now. I think it's amazing that they won. And I think that soon Curry might be in that top 5 conversation.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of good points there. I mean, what you're right. You're just throwing it all out there, hitting this out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pick apart a couple things that I want to go at here is that top 5 conversation, right? With Steph Curry. I mean, I'm kind of looking at it here. Who was the best player of the decade? Was it LeBron or was it Curry? Because Curry went to 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 finals all in a row, won 3, and then comes back 2 years later and wins another. That's 4 in a decade. Spills into the 2020s a little bit, where LeBron only won 3.
Yeah.
I mean, does that give Steph Curry a leg up there for the best player of the 2010s? I mean, there's a lot of great argument there, I think, to be had for Steph. LeBron is he was always going and getting these other guys around him, where Steph just had the 3 of them there, and then they would just piece it together. Another thing there that could be pointed out was, I agree with you with Steve Kerr. I'm not a big fan of his. I think he can be blunt, and he thinks he knows everything about some stuff, but then he can be blunt and right about some things. And he kind of was at the parade the other day, and he's just like, "Oh, what's the key to your success coaching?" and he's just, or your whole career, he's like, surround yourself with superstars.
For stars.
And like, I mean, he's
That's
right.
true.
And hey, I will tip my hat there. At least he knows. He's put himself around Duncan and MJ and Curry and these guys that have been able to. All he has to do is just tap it in, tap it in, happy, and he has done it. There's been guys like Mark Jackson and other coaches that haven't been able to get the job done, but the way he handles these competitors, the way he was a competitor himself, it translates very well, where some other coaches, Doc Rivers, you fucking suck, can't do that. You can't relate to the players where you have opportunities to just tap it in, but you just put your foot in your mouth. And he hasn't done that. And I give him credit for that. Some other things now, I mean, a lot of hype for the Warriors is the flip side of that. The NBA itself, the game it is mainly 3-pointers, but what you saw with the Warriors was, look at Steph Curry, the way he plays. He is running a marathon every game. He is going around, rolling off screens. They're setting him up. They're getting him open. He's driving to the lane. He's passing. He's hitting floaters. It's not all just 3-point shots. What a lot of people want to argue. It's just
their movement is crazy.
It is nuts, the way they move the ball and get these guys wide open. So I think that gives the NBA some hope there. With what you're saying, we can definitely dive into more of the NBA as a whole with LeBron and KD and everybody else in the league, because that's what makes the NBA probably the most popular. I mean, still below the NFL, but kind of what the NFL did this past offseason, where the NBA offseason is always, the Kardashians. The Kardashians are in the NBA. Well, the NBA's in, hanging out with them all the time. So they're using that reality TV in the NBA. So
for the storylines, yes.
That's what drives it. That's what you're going to see again this offseason. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's look at this Celtics team here that
you hate. I mean, are they the team, honestly, that you hate the most in the East? And I don't even mean just today. I mean, like, as a Sixers fan, and again, a diehard Sixers fan, are they the team that you hate the most in the East?
Yeah, because the way that the Sixers and them were going back and forth a couple years ago, Boston's always getting your number. You had freaking Al Horford dominating Joel Embiid for a couple years in the playoffs. You get swept in the bubble. And just the Boston in general, you tip your hat, you respect them because they're just as much scumbags as we are, but sometimes they don't acknowledge it, which is just total BS.
Yeah, so, it's like own it.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, like at least Philly, we'll own it.
We'll own it.
We'll try to deny it, but I'll own it. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
This team has those young guys, and the fact that the Sixers got fleeced with freaking Jason Tatum for Markelle Fultz. You trade up to the number 1 spot. All you got to do, I mean, nobody knew that Jason Tatum was going to be what he is with the Mamba mentality, the Kobe. But you look at it from face value, kind of what I've talked about with the Eagles drafting LSU, Alabama, these big SEC schools, Georgia. You draft a guy from Washington State, a 19-year-old from the DMV area, soft, and Markelle Fultz. And then you go and you miss on the guy from Duke. You talk Washington State or you talk Duke when you're talking NBA. Well, who on face value there? The star of Washington State or Duke? Who do you pick there? And you went with the wrong guy. And then this guy is finally turned into something special. Still a lot to go. He had the most 100 turnovers in the playoffs. But there's nowhere to go but up for this team, even making it to the finals. I mean, what I've been saying is you got to get there. You got to take those lumps. The Warriors took a couple lumps before that team finally got to the championship and beat those Cavaliers team.
Yep.
So when it comes down to it, you got Jaylen Brown, got Marcus Smart. The only thing they need to do, and Robert Williams has come out of nowhere too and has become an absolute defensive force for them.
He was crazy. Seriously, like you said, he just came out of nowhere and was just this huge force to be reckoned with. And then even Derek White, dude. Derek White was going off in game 1 and 2. Like, and Late in the Eastern Conference Finals, he was going crazy. And it's so interesting to me that, like, for Al Horford, who's been bouncing all over the place for so long, he's the icing on the cake for this big three team in Smart, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. He's just the icing.
Yeah.
I think that the thing about it is that Boston has shown that, I think, besides Miami, and I'm going to be upfront because of our conversations. I've always been a doubter of Miami. But besides Miami, they're going to be the most consistent front runner for the foreseeable future in the East. It's Boston and Miami. The Sixers can get there. They can. They have the ability to. They just got to do the right things to do so. And, we'll get into that in a little bit, I know. But I can't believe how well Boston played in this series. Just to wrap it, like that just that game one, that whole experience, man, was just crazy.
Yeah, and
they were getting their butts whooped.
They were in a couple of these other games throughout the series, but just the turnovers, the sloppy play. What I've always been saying about the NBA is all you got to do is watch the fourth quarter of some of these basketball games, and you'll know whoever goes on that run from like that 8 to 5 minute mark left in that fourth quarter there, that's who's going to win the basketball game. For the most part, and
which kind of sucks.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of the NBA, to be 100% honest with you. But go check out my previous rants on the channel at the BSP Podcast for that. But let's dive into a little bit more now of that keeping up with the NBA here and what the NBA offseason is going to look like now.
Okay.
I mean, you got a lot of teams up in the air.
I like that. You should make that a show segment. I like that.
Yeah, keeping up with the NBA. Yeah, I'd like that. But you got teams like my Sixers. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, you think James Harden's the guy, it's electric, and then all of a sudden, like, what are you doing? You got teams like Brooklyn. I mean, Kyrie is supposedly on the move now again this offseason. We'll get to that in 1 second for sure. You got teams like the Bucks. I mean, they go win a championship. Chris Middleton gets hurt this playoffs. That hurts them a bunch. He's a big fit part of that, but your team's getting older now. Drew Holiday, how much is he able to keep up? Where do they go from there? You got guys out west. You got your D-Books, and Chris Paul's just getting older and older. He's proven that he can't win a championship time after time. He can't win in the playoffs. That's just sticking with him. Where do they go? You got the Dallas Mavericks coming up and finally being that team. Then you got the Lakers. I mean, it took me this long to finally get to the Lakers. And what happens with LeBron? I mean, that whole thing with Westbrook is just an absolute mess. Does that Lakers team?
Sorry, I was going to say, not even to mention the team that it's so sad that doesn't even get brought up. The Clippers.
The Clippers too.
Nowhere to be found.
100%. I mean, where does this go is where you start right now. Is Kyrie Irving is reportedly on the move again this offseason, and the Los Angeles Lakers is the favorite spot for him to go. I mean, what a turnaround in the past 5 years where Kyrie leaves the Cavs, and that's pretty much the downfall of that Cleveland team is when he goes, I want to play without LeBron. I want to prove I can do it without LeBron. He goes up to Boston, who knows, he's doing whatever all over the court up there, and he just loses his mind. And then all of a sudden he goes with Brooklyn with KD. Neither of them can stay healthy. No. Now he's on the way out, and he's going to go and play with LeBron again. Is that what's going on now? Oh my God.
Dude, I don't even know how to where to start with the Lakers, because I totally understood the Westbrook pickup. I mean, we both did. It was the only player that at the time you could honestly say, okay, LeBron is actually going to get to sit 22 games out of the season because they bring this guy in. And then he ends up having the worst season of his career. And honestly, kind of like drawing down, in my opinion, a little bit of his legacy. Even though he'll always have a legacy, he's a star athlete. Like, he didn't look like a player that should be in the NBA this year. Just truly. And a guy who's making $44 million a year, no less. So, what I think is, do I think that Kyrie's going to end up in LA? Personally, no, I do not. I think that LeBron is looking to surround himself in his end of his career with people that are completely and utterly taking orders from him. And if you didn't get this by Kyrie's first season in Boston, Kyrie listens to one person and one person alone, and that's Kyrie. And there's nobody that's going to change that, even when he's been on the court with better players than him. No, like Durant is a significantly better player than you. He's already in that top 10 combo, and you weren't listening to him, and now you're thinking about moving again. So I don't know where Kyrie's going to go, but I will tell you, I am nervous for LeBron's future right now. LeBron has, without a doubt, another he's got another 4 years in the league. He's got one more and then 3 years to play until Bronny comes. I don't know if he's going to stay in LA. I think he moved there for business opportunities outside, but the Lakers sure do need somebody, man. They need somebody bad.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is, how do you make the money work at that point?
Yeah.
AD's getting the arm and a leg too. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. I mean, the whole thing that's been kind of hidden this offseason, he's doing a vlog with some social media guys, and he goes, I haven't picked the basketball up since April 5th when they were done playing. Like, it's been 2 months
really
and Anthony Davis hasn't picked up a basketball. Like, the whole team they got that championship for LA, and now everybody's trying to reap the rewards of living out there, the stuff you can do outside of just basketball. And that's where their heads got caught up in this past season. And LeBron's going to have one of those comeback things. He's going to have that montage. I was born in the ashes of Akron. I came up from nothing. And then he's going to try to grind. He's going to get the number 1 seed next season. And then he's going to be like, you guys all hated it. You hated on us. You doubted us. Like, that's just the way LeBron James works.
Yes.
But
I also think to add on to that, unfortunately, the truth is that because of the seasons that they've had for the past 2 years, they're now adding legitimacy to what people are saying. And I don't agree with this opinion, but when people in the sports world that are bigger than you and I, who are talking about how that COVID championship was a COVID championship, and they're not giving it the legitimacy that they were giving it before. Exactly. No, but truly,
it was held at his house.
Championship. Yeah,
it was held at his house.
And so, and at the end of the day, because you've now gone 2 straight seasons of missing the postseason, it's like, man, what are we doing? Did we really go through all that? Did you really just leave Cleveland to only get one more in arguably the biggest franchise besides, I would argue, Boston, where when you go, you've got to bring one home? I mean, dude, you've only got one right now. Like, and that's where something I want to throw out to you is, I really want to know. I personally think he's going to stay in the East, but I think that LeBron's going to try to get in his ear. Where is Bradley Beal going to go?
Yeah.
Where's he going to end up? Is he going to go, if I'm Bradley Beal, the only place that I should be considering, and not to say this, there's only 2 teams. It's either I'm going to the Sixers or I'm going to the Suns, because those are the 2 teams that fit my game style the best out of everybody. You could make the argument that maybe he'd go to Milwaukee, because they could definitely use a player like him. They'd structure it well around him. But if I'm LeBron, that's the guy I need. I need him bad. And if I'm Bradley, I'm like, why would I want to get involved in that mess? It's a shit show.
No, for sure. I mean, going off of that, I'm not 100% sure what the Sixers are going to do this offseason, because you don't have a lot of pieces. You have the 23rd pick that the Nets gave them, that was involved in the James Harden, Ben Simmons trade. They forgoed it for following seasons to pick it up. So the Sixers got that. You got Matisse Thybulle, you got Maxey that everybody wants, but I don't see the Sixers moving from him, unless, not even for Bradley Beal, to be honest. You need a Donovan Mitchell to be able to move off of Tyrese Maxey at this point. You need a Kyrie Irving to move off of a Tyrese Maxey at this point. I don't love Bradley Beal at this point in his career, because he kind of quit at the end of last year. At the trade deadline, he was kind of like, I'm okay playing in DC. He's like, I'm happy here. My family's here. I've been here for a while. and then he just at the end of the season, I'm hurt, shut it down. That rubs me the wrong way. Where that I don't see the hunger for that guy. You know, as much as you want to hate on guys like James Harden and guys wanting out in the NBA, forcing their trade to get out of there. At least they want to go. They want out for a reason. They want to win. They have the power and the desire to go and win. And he was just kind of like, I'm okay.
And Harden did it better than anybody. He put a pillow under his shirt in games. Like all of a sudden he loses 35 pounds when he gets to Philadelphia. But I get what you're saying there. It's kind of Ben Simmons-esque. I can get how that kind of rubs you the wrong way. But at the end of the day, the thing that's bad right now about Philly is, as you said, you have no bench. You don't have pieces. You've only got your names. And so with that, but those names are coming with the only name that's not coming with baggage, who's kind of outproved the baggage that I would always throw on him, is Joel. Joel's proven that he can stay healthy, and Joel's proven that he is a menace when on the court.
The reigning MVP.
So the reigning MVP. Yeah. So the point being is that to go back to our original conversation, we started talking here about Kyrie. I want to pose to you, Trilly, if he doesn't end up in LA, but he's gone from Brooklyn, who wants this guy? I don't think that there's anybody in the East, unless you are the Knicks, like a failing franchise that can afford him. There's nobody else who wants to take on that head case, because all those other teams have got dogs. They've got Milwaukee's got Giannis. The Sixers have got Harden and Joel. Miami's got Jimmy Buckets. Boston's got the big three.
He would be good at Miami because they need a point guard. Kyle Lowry's not that guy anymore.
No, I agree, but I don't think that Jimmy wants him in his locker room.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I don't think that Jimmy would take those I don't think that Jimmy would allow for that many mental breaks.
Yeah. What about a team like with Luka? Mark Cuban could think he could change him. That would be his little toy. He would, hey, Kyrie, come on the jet.
Yeah.
He thinks he could change him, have him and Luka playing together. That would be a good team.
Jet. Yeah. Come on the jet. No, like put him on an episode of Shark Tank.
Yeah. My God. No, Kyrie would love that shit. He would eat that shit up.
He would. No, dude, I think that Luka and Kyrie on the same team would be crazy. Like the amount of just dancing on the court that would be created would be wild. Personally, I feel that the team that wants him the most is Denver or Utah.
Yeah, I was thinking those teams too, but I got to the Mavericks first. Yeah.
No, the Mavericks would be. It would be crazy. I think that what's going to happen though is that if Kyrie, I will go out on a limb and say this: if Kyrie does not commit to being the number 2 or number 3 option for the rest of his career, because I think he's hit his ceiling of what he will produce, he's not going to win another ring if he doesn't realize that. Like Harden knows on the Sixers, Harden knows that he is the number 2.
Yeah. Even he's moving his way back to a number 3 with Tyrese Maxey's development at this point, because that kid wants it. Have you seen Tyrese Maxey and watched him, bro? The dude's electric. Yeah. And he's got that smile on his face. He's got that drive. He answers the question. He's younger. He's younger than both of us. He's only 20. Yeah, I think he just turned 21. Like, that's nuts. Absolutely nuts. But let's take another quick break here, and we'll get back into it. We'll make our way into a little bit of NFL talk. Are both birds back?
Yes.
This isn't a trillion 10. This is a trillion. Probably we're going to be pushing 2 hours when we put it all together, probably. But I hope everybody's enjoying it. Something different. I mean, I miss this, honestly. I miss you, Harry. I miss breaking it down. I miss sitting down, just chatting. It's good conversation. I hope we don't sound like idiots. I think there are a lot of good stuff here, especially that Kyrie, get him on Shark Tank. I think him down in Dallas would be a great pickup for them. But let's make our way into a little bit of an NFL talk. I mean, NFL is king. It rules the world. I just got an Eagles chain coming in the mail, hopefully by the 4th of July. Be rocking that around all winter and fall long. Like I said, are both birds back? Yeah, Harry's a big Baltimore Ravens fan. I know it's all Eagles all the time here. Both teams have had a great offseason, great drafts. I want to get your take first here, Harry, on those Baltimore Ravens team and that NFC North division. I mean, we're talking about a little bit with the QB situations there, and Lamar's got a big contract coming up. Is that deal going to get done?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to get done because the Ravens are not going to shop him, because the Ravens know that they know that Lamar will get his money. They know that Lamar is a $40 million quarterback, unfortunately, in this market. Do I believe that
Why unfortunately?
Because he's not worth $40 million. A quarterback who's worth $40 million a year is a quarterback like a Justin Herbert, a Patrick Mahomes, a Russell Wilson, a Tom Brady, even though he's not getting paid it because he's the GOAT. Somebody of somebody of that cloth. Even a guy like, to be honest, a guy like Derek Carr, a guy who's possibly coming up sooner than later. He's on that cusp of being a top 10 quarterback. But Lamar is an incredible quarterback, an incredible talent, but it takes guys here's the thing. This is the best way to put it. Russell is a guy that with nothing around him will get you above 500 and possibly even at a playoff position. Lamar's not able to do that. And the reason why that is because, yes, is he the most? There's never going to be any time I ever hear somebody tell me that Lamar's going to get stopped. I'm always going to respond with one phrase: you're full of a crock of shit, because you've been saying that for the past 4 years and you haven't been able to contain it. But the way that teams have found to contain him is he can't look down the sideline. He's got to change that. He doesn't have that element to his game. And the other thing that's hard is that Lamar doesn't have an actual agent. His agent is his mom. I mean, his mom is the person negotiating the deal.
Keep the money in house.
Keeping money in house, right? And I get it. His mom's his biggest support system his entire life.
Best.
Mama does know best, but at the same time, I think that if there was an agent in his ear, I think an agent would be saying, "Listen, man, what are you going to do when teams start throwing big money towards Andrews and the Ravens can't pay him anymore because of your contract?" Because Andrews is, without a doubt, he's the best tight end in the league. I don't care what you say. Travis Kelce's number 2. He's number 1. And, he's going to get a max. But after he gets a max, who else is going to get paid? We had a great backfield before the injuries in Dobbins and in Edwards. We're not going to be able to hold on to both of those guys. And at the end of the day, the AFC North has been known for one thing and one thing only throughout its existence. That's defense, defense, defense.
Running the football.
Running the football. Both of our rings in Baltimore have been delivered by our defenses. Even though I would argue I'd put the second Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl team against any team ever, and I mean that. I truly do, with the offense and the defense that we had. But what I will say is, at the end of the day, that team was – and the elite quarterback, the elitist of all time, Joey Flacco, number 5, brought the ring to the city. People were yelling at him when he had kids, whatever, leaving the man alone. Now he's back with the Jets. Either way, don't get us talking about quarterbacks with kids, or we'll start talking about Phillip Rivers. But to move on from that, where I'll end it at is Lamar. If he gets paid the money that the market is deeming him worth, it is going to be a brutal, brutal ride for the Ravens for the next 5 years. Joe Burrow is a top 6, top 7 quarterback in the league. He's in our division. And not only that, but the guy who's going to be a number 10 quarterback, if not a number 5 quarterback in the league very soon, Deshaun Watson, is going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, you forget about that.
Yep. And with that, when he finally is able to play, and he's in, you're going to be playing 2 of the top 10 quarterbacks for 4 of your games. Did I say that correctly? Yeah, for 4 of your games out of your season, you're going to be playing these 2 guys. And if you don't have the people around you, you're not going to be a winning organization. So I really hope that the Ravens are able to get Lamar to not take as much as he's worth, so that he can be surrounded by the things that make him what he's worth.
Yeah. I mean, are you sleeping on the predecessor to Big Boy Ben? Kenny Two Gloves, the Jersey Kid? You're sleeping on Pittsburgh out there. I mean, they're going to have a good football
How
team.
stupid of a pick was that?
Dude, they need a
How
they need
stupid
a QB.
of a pick.
I don't think it's stupid.
You ride with what's his name for the year. You ride with him.
Trubisky, yeah.
Why would you take a quarterback? Why would you take a quarterback in a quarterback-less draft and not wait until the next year?
Because you got Trubisky, you can let him sit underneath of him for the year. They're not going to win it all this year, but you let him develop, you let him grow. He's the Pittsburgh guy coming right. He's not even leaving the facility. They've shared the facility for the past 4 or 5 years there. I mean, with all the COVID stuff, he's there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a chance. He doesn't have to change much. He's already been there. They know the guy. Pittsburgh's able to plug and play wide receivers. They got Najee Harris now at running back. You got TJ Watt there for the next 2 knows. The dude's an absolute beast if he's healthy. I mean, then you can always plug him in halfway through the year if Trubisky is kind of not getting the job done and see where it goes from there. I mean, I don't hate it. I agree with what you're saying that he's not a top 5 talent. He's not, but he didn't go there. What? He was in the 20s, right? Late teens was where they picked him.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
it. I thought it was the 17th pick.
Yeah. Where else would they go at that point? You're just looking for upside value for that team. They needed a quarterback. They have the opportunity to let him sit and develop. And then afterwards, I mean, what, were you going to pick a cornerback? Were you going to pick a linebacker? I mean, how much is that really going to do for you overall? Where you can get a franchise guy that hopefully you can give him some opportunities and go from there. If he's not it, you move on. The way QBs work nowadays, you can flip them in and out and right side and center. I mean, who knows? Maybe
if you're the Eagles, if you're the Eagles, you want to pick one every year.
That's, hey, we are a team that loves the quarterbacks. I mean, as Howie Roseman infamously said, it's a QB factory there in Philly. We even had Joe Flacco there this past year. I mean, you got Gardner Minshew. You got they brought in somebody else, Carson Strong. They undrafted free agent. Everybody was loving him when they signed him out of this draft from Nevada. But yeah, it's just funny how that works out. But yeah, with the Ravens situation there, I mean, the deal needs to get done with Lamar, because where else do you go at that point? It's kind of that Aaron Judge situation where he's going to get his money elsewhere if you let him go. And then where does that leave you? You have a good core around it. I agree with what you're saying. Is if it was smart, you take less money, you pay the guys around to keep them there that make you that MVP player. But that's just not how the NFL works. You see wide receivers getting $80, $100 million now. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy the way the money has been going. And it's just the downfall to the situation. That's why this draft was huge for the Ravens, where they go and they get Kyle Hamilton. And then who was your other guy's pick? The center from Cam Jordan?
Yeah, I would argue that we had the best draft this year. I mean, the picks that we were able to make this year were just incredible. I'm just gonna read them off so that
real quick. You called me right before the Eagles trade up, right before the Ravens. Did you who did you think the Eagles were going to take there? Were you scared they were going to take one of your guys that you wanted, where they ended up taking Jordan Davis, who I love? But was that a guy that you were looking at for that Ravens pick, or was it always Kyle Hamilton?
No, I knew. I really believed that it was going to be. I didn't think that the Eagles were going to take Kyle Hamilton, because I thought that if the Eagles didn't go for defensive line, I thought that they would go for receiver talent. I really did not think that they were going to be looking at any DB or defensive back or defensive corner, position. I didn't think that that's what they needed. I thought, if anything, I thought that the Eagles might try to take maybe an inside or outside linebacker, shake things up. But no, I thought that Kyle Hamilton would still drop to us.
Yeah. I mean, with that pick there, a big Notre Dame guy. I mean, the guy gets all over the field there. I mean, he's that next staple in that defensive back room with already a lot of great cornerbacks. You just needed that over-the-top guy to help him out. That Ravens defense is looking scary again. I mean, what do you think now? I mean, can that defense finally make a resurgence here?
Absolutely, they can. If we don't have the injuries that we had this past season, the division can always be won by us. That's what it comes down to. If we don't have injuries, I think that we are the best team. Even that the Bengals hung 82 points on us collectively this season. They did. We got to call it how it is. And we had 30 something on them. When we're at full strength and we're ready to go, I don't believe that there's a team that can beat us. That's yet to see with Deshaun. When he comes to Cleveland, I might have to reassess. But no, I think that the Ravens have a real chance here. And I love, nobody had us, not even myself, thinking that we were going to go with Tyler Linbaum in the center. Yeah. And the Ravens, the Ravens have historically, as a fan, I've been yelling about this since I can remember being a Ravens fan, about how awful usually our offensive line is. And 2 years ago, our star quarterback got concussed because of how bad our offensive line play was. I'm really happy that we picked him up. I think that we've got an ability now with both Edwards and with Dobbins coming back, that he's going to create a lot of really great holes for them. I'm excited to see what this team is going to do in Baltimore. I am.
Yeah. Do you think that Hamilton pick was because of those 80 points? Do you think that had anything to do about it with that Bengals team? I mean, Deshaun Watson, rumored. I don't remember if the trade happened yet to the Browns at that point, but,
it hadn't yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have these offenses in your division now starting to ramp up. Do you think that pick had anything to do with trying to get that over the top help there?
Well, I do, because I think that every team watched the Super Bowl this year and saw that Chase was beating Ramsey on plays. Ramsey was not dominating Chase whatsoever in that Super Bowl at all. And he and Burrow have a connection that I would compare to, even with how young they are, I'll go out and say it, they've got a Tom Brady Gronk type of deal going on, where they are so in sync with one another, and they obviously love being around one another. And he is such a free playing player that Burrow is able to keep up with his arm talent, that I think the Ravens were like, listen, we got to get a kid who can give us a fighting chance at trying to lock this kid up. I mean, listen, if the best defensive back in the league is having trouble, you got to throw the kitchen sink at it. And I think that was the point of the Kyle Hamilton pick.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Now let's flip side to the other birds, the real birds.
Let's go.
Fly. I mean, the dirty birds, the Super Bowl champs, the big dick Knicks, the Jalen Hurts. That's where I kind of want to lead this off. I can't believe
you just called them the Super Bowl champs. Keep going.
They were 2017, baby. Never forget.
Yeah.
Greatest day of my life. Shout out Sierra. I love you. Where do you think? I mean, I had the pristine insider Zach Bosch on draft night. When the Eagles go, they take Jordan Davis. You trade up, what I was saying the whole time. They weren't going to take another rookie wide receiver. You already took Devontae the year before. Great. I love it. Alabama, what I've been saying all the time, take these SEC guys. Jordan Davis, Georgia. They weren't going to take another young wide receiver like a Jalen Reagor. They were going to go and they were going to get that proven guy. And you got a guy that's 24 years old that has so much life to his NFL career, and A.J. Brown, who's best friends with Jalen Hurts. They've been friends since high school. You pair them up, you make those plays. Now, the esteemed Zach Bosch said, they're setting it up for Jalen. This is all on Jalen Hurts now. You got the defense. You get Nakobe Dean in the third round. He slides all the way to you with dealing. People were saying shoulder, but he's perfectly fine out there at OTAs. I mean, the guy's an absolute ball hawk, captain of the best defense. You have two of the center pieces you add now in the best defense in probably all of college football, baby, and that Georgia Bulldogs defense. I mean, you're finally giving Jalen the weapons. He has no excuses now. What do you think this Eagles offense can look like with a Dallas Goedert, with the two wide receivers, even Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor? You got Miles Sanders in the backfield with a offensive line that is absolutely filthy with Mailata. You got our big boy up in the middle with Kelsey and Lane Johnson on the outside. I mean, where do you think this Eagles offense can go from a team that was just ground and pound to maybe do they let it air out a little bit with Hurts, or do you just stick to what they've been good with? Dink and dunk. A.J. Brown's so good with the ball in his hands. Just slant routes. Go home. Michael Thomas-esque. I threw a lot at you there. You there?
Yeah, I'm digesting what you're throwing at me. I think that number one, I think that the Eagles, I was sitting that draft night, that draft show in the Pulse. We're watching the draft board, and what I forget, bring me back to my knowledge. Why did Eagles fans start freaking out at first with that first pick? What did you think went wrong? It was something like people were all upset about something, or the people that I was with were like really upset. Well, let me get to what I know instead of speculating about what happened in the past because my memory's not serving me. I think that the Eagles went very strong, especially, with that first pick in Davis. You got a guy, that is going to just be an absolute dog on the field. No, no pun intended for being a Georgia Bulldog, but he is just going to clean up on the field day in and day out. He's going to embody that Philadelphia type style play that's going to be gritty, and he's going to look to knock it every week, whether it as our man Jacob Hoover would say, whether it's New York week, whether it's Washington week, or whether it's Dallas week, he's going to be all over the field. I think that I love that connection that they set up. I'm sorry, with what's his name? I'm blanking. Jalen Hurts, his friend, that you had just mentioned. Yeah, with AJ Brown, and that was incredible draft night to get that guy from the Titans. An amazing. I mean, anybody wants AJ Brown on their team. Let's make that clear. Anybody in the NFL wants that receiver on their team. And just that video that they released that night of them on FaceTime together going, let's do it. Like, I would compare it to a Burrow and Chase deal where they have this connection that we're going to see this year. That's good. And also, dude, Hurts is beefed up in these photos recently. Dude, he's put on weight. He looks like he's ready to take a hit. He looks like he's going to get active, and he looks like that he is ready to prove to everyone, including myself, who's been a doubter of him, I want to be the Philadelphia Eagles franchise player. Yeah. And I think that this is going to be the year where I'm not saying that they're going to be a deep playoff team, but where it's going to stand out that if he's ready to do that, it's going to come. The Eagles are my pick to win the division, without a doubt. If you don't, I think that I think that something's wrong if the Eagles don't win their division. You know that Washington doesn't have it together. They don't have a quarterback. New York, we don't even need to cover that. It's New York. And at the end of the day, Dallas is going to just keep failing us. I don't think that they're going to get 12 wins this year. I really don't. I don't think that I think that they can maybe get 10, maybe. But I think that the Eagles can be a 12-win team this year. I really do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm super excited for this season. I mean, when the biggest complaint that as Philadelphians have right now with this Eagles team is that they changed the logo. Like, did you see the new letters that they changed? I just texted you a picture of what they changed it to. It literally happened. It happened this past week out of nowhere too. Like,
why? That sucks.
Exactly. Like when you have an off season that your biggest complaint is why did you change the logo? I mean, I think that's a big win for this organization for right now. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. That's so true. What you just said. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean,
but that logo is so great. Why would you get rid of that?
Exactly, bro. I mean, you look at a bunch of logos that the Eagles have had with the Kelly Green Eagle. I mean, why would you ever change that? I mean, even the one now, I mean, the old one, it was perfectly fine. Why mess with it? The reason why is for the money.
Why mess with it?
It's to go sell new merch with the new logo because idiots are going to do it. My cousin Sean's going to go out there and spend probably close to $2,000 on new merch. Like, that's just what people do. Like, everybody lives, breathes, and dies the Eagles. I mean, if the NFL was smart, they would do different jerseys like Oregon every week. I mean, so then you look like, oh, yeah, that was a sick week 1, 2022 jersey. Oh, that 2023 week 4 jersey, that's pretty fire. And like, there's just so many different opportunities there. But
no, 100%.
The best
but
part
I agree with
it,
what you're saying, that if that's what your biggest complaint.
Yeah. And then you kind of look at it. I saw one of the things.
Yeah.
Number 5 will always love you. Look at the S on the new logo. It looks like a 5. Like number 5, Donovan McNabb. He has a great speech when they retired his number. Number 5 will always love you. So I think maybe Donovan McNabb had a little bit of input on the new logo.
It does look
there.
like a 5. You're right.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. And then they kind of do like on the E, they do like the opposite of how like it had the talons pointing out. Now it kind of points into the E's now.
Yes.
Like, I feel like me or you could have did that for 5 minutes before class for like Fultz or something and been like, here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's going to be my biggest complaint as of right now, you even go out and you get a safety and Tart, from that was probably your other complaint as of right now. But I mean, he's a solid pickup there too. But Harry, I think that's about going to do it for this episode. I mean, dude, it's been a lot of fun.
Man.
Catching up. We'll have to do it more often, maybe before another 2 years comes up.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the episode. I hope you stayed to it and listened to a lot of different stuff we're throwing at you here. I hope you could hear we have a lot of fun doing this and want to keep doing this. Support us. Check out Harry on Instagram. I mean, he's a great photographer too. Check out all of his different accounts. You want to plug them real quick, Harry?
Yeah, follow me at Heaps Photography 14 _. And I'm looking to definitely restart my podcast. I'm looking, step back for a little bit of a while. So I'm going to look to Petrilli for some guidance. And as soon as I got that up, I'll be releasing that to you as well.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely a lot of fun. I mean, everybody out there listening, feel free to reach out. I'd love to have you hop on Zoom, just like what we did here with Harry. It's always good to get another voice, not just me talking to a little camera here in my living room. So, I mean, I hope you could tell a little bit of different content here, have a lot more fun with it. We got a lot of stuff moving up here. Phillies are red hot. Hopefully that can continue. Hopefully Harry can come up. We'll do a vlog. That'll be a lot of fun. Harry and I get in a little bit of trouble, maybe some other SU guys. That'd be a good time. Maybe we'll set that up. And, both birds are red hot. You got Tampa Bay. We didn't even really talk about that, but, taking all their frustration out in game 3 right now, up 6-2 with a couple minutes left. And then
Crazy.
Warriors, one of the best teams in NBA history. Where does Kyrie go? Maybe he goes to Shark Tank next instead of the NBA. All right. Shout out to the 215. Go Birds. Dingerdelphia, baby.